I'm here to moderate the BEAT LAMAR Forum. It's one of the things I do. Go out, have a fair discussion, critical questions, give people a chance to get answers.
What do you think about this whole BEAT LAMAR thing and the rhino thing that they're calling Lamar Alexander a rhino?
You know what? I don't even focus on the word rhino. This is our process, the primary process. The republic is built on representation. Well, that starts when people put themselves out there, whether they file letters of declaration or not, whatever it is they do to get involved in the system, whether it's running for office or working within it. Even you're working within it. If you think about it, you're providing a messaging point for this rally. So our system works when everyone exercises their First Amendment rights, when they challenge. It's okay to challenge someone whether you disagree with them or agree with them, because we don't move forward if you don't.
What do you think about the Tea Party's involvement in the political process at this point?
It was essential. It was essential, and when you look back at it, it was predictable. We just didn't predict it. Eventually, the apathy and cynicism that had existed for years, for decades, had to reach a boiling point, and it reached that point when all the bubbles burst, when people looked at their own lifestyles, when they sat at the kitchen table and they said, we've got more month at the end of money than we have. We've got a government that's operating on a system that we couldn't operate on. So there's a problem here. And what's the first thing? You recognize there's a problem. Maybe you don't understand it. Maybe you can't quite explain it. But eventually people just got fed up, and it literally became a kitchen table issue. Because that's what families do. That's what all across America, people sit there and go, what are we doing? Are our kids going to this camp, ballet, whatever, sport, or whatever they get involved in? And what are we going to do for the family and our vacation? Well, if we're making those kinds of decisions and making choices and picking what we can and can't afford as Americans, then what happens when we look at a government that doesn't make those choices, but just simply writes paper, prints paper, so to speak, when it comes to money, and says, we're solvent? The two just can never stay, they can never last any longer than that aversion to a system that is simply out of control.
You see, you've been to, and you've talked to a lot of people, you have a radio show that are very discontent with what's going on. What is the most problematic issue that they have with this government that's going on right now?
The government isn't functioning, one, as it should, and two, on their behalf. We have a government, and we need a government, and we need a structure, one that functions in a very efficient and effective manner. But what we have is a government that has simply grown bureaucracies. It's become a political system that's supported by both parties. Yes, there are libertarians and in some states conservative parties and independent parties, but essentially we have a two-party system that has taken over what this country, or what's involved in running this country. And the system itself has become the problem. The institution needs to be fixed. We need an establishment. We do, because establishments give you structure. What we don't need is an overpowering establishment, a government that has 3.5 million employees, that wastes money regularly, and then in fact uses the very systems it has to fund its own political systems and political goals. What I'm talking about is a giant mess. That's essentially what it is. Let me give you an example. A dinosaur. A dinosaur, a very large dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus rex or otherwise, was basically a large animal with an underdeveloped brain, a bad central nervous system, and they didn't communicate with each other very well. They went extinct. Our institutions are becoming dinosaurs. Before they go extinct, we've got to evolve.
Do you think that that's why the Tea Party came about, though? Because the Democratic Party doesn't really act like the Democratic Party anymore.
No, they don't.
The Republican Party acts more like the Democratic Party. And don't you think the Tea Party has taken over where the Republicans should have been?
The Tea Party has become a better rudder on the political system. Let's face the reality. You're not going to automatically throw out the Republican institution, but you need to fix it. There is hope with some Democrats, traditional Democrats, Kennedy Democrats, and so on. So you can work with some of them, because there are good Democrats who want to help. The Tea Party said, not Republican, not Democrat, we're being taxed enough already, we're being taxed out of existence. Suddenly we had TARP under Bush, we had forced money, forced on corporations, and the free market wasn't allowed to work. We're not saying rip out and rip down the system. We're saying put the ship of state back on track, right-size the government, give us a government that's limited, effective, efficient, and constitutional. We have state constitutions and a U.S. Constitution, but we have a governmental system that finds ways around both.
I know I don't have much time with you, but I wanted to get in. What is your idea of the American dream?
The American dream, opportunity. That's the word I start with. The Declaration of Independence is our cultural DNA. It set the tone for who we are. Then we have the Constitution. The Constitution is our legal DNA. They've created a framework, and the genius of the founders is this. They created a document and a principle and a foundation that even had redress written into it. They saw evolution in technology in times, from sticks and stones and cavemen to powder and charges. They saw that we would continue to grow. They couldn't picture airplanes in the sky or rocket ships in space. But they left us with a system that we could evolve with as a country, not a constitution that evolves, that's the framework. Not a declaration that evolves, because that is a cultural framework that we need to get back to a trust. We're a great nation because we have a great culture. But our great culture is being corrupted by those that want to pollute the American dream by defining it for you. In reality, our individual rights means we define our dream, and it's also up to us to make responsible choices, to make good choices and look at not only ourselves, our community, our families, but how we affect the world around us.